Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Uncharted 3 Crushing Difficulty walkthrough, and this is chapter 11, also known as Above, So Below. And we have gone down into a well. I trimmed out about the first 2 minutes of this chapter because it's just me climbing down a well and trying to get ahead of myself when it comes to this first puzzle. The first thing you have to do is walk over to that wall that you saw at the beginning, where Nate realizes that something has been written in so-called Enochian script, which I think is supposed to be an angelic language or something like that. And that tells him to bring out his map after he's used his little deciphering doodah that we picked up in a museum as a kid. And then we can go over to these pillars and pull the levers. And it's very important that you go up to the right hole in the pillar, because if you try to stick your hand in one of the wrong ones, you will take some damage. It will not kill you, but it will damage Nate. And also, when it comes to these old death contraptions, you never want to stick your fingers if you're not absolutely sure you will get them back. But that opens the way into the inner parts of this chamber, and we are gonna do 2 puzzles in here. And you do them in whichever order you choose to do, it doesn't matter. Both chambers open. I always start with the left. There is no particular reason to why I go into the left chamber first, it's just the way I did it the first time I played this game, and I'm kind of what's called a habitual. It's a force of habit. If I've done it one way once and it works, I usually tend to do it in later playthroughs as well. And in this chamber you have to climb up this pillar and climb across. That will show you how this puzzle works, because you see those 2 images on the far wall. You don't see them right now because I'm turned the other way. But when you climb past them, you will see these images turn while we're looking through this, and you see that the discs with 4 circles are supposed to rotate clockwise, and the ones with a cross are supposed to rotate counterclockwise. And the main reason we climb up here is because we need one of those cogwheels. That one right down there to my left, the one with a cross. So go over to that, press triangle, so Nate will push it down to the floor, and that's one of the cogwheels you need to solve this puzzle. And as soon as you've gotten it down, you just jump down on the ground and we start collecting the pieces. And as I said, this puzzle is really easy. You cannot do it wrong, more or less. If you put in the wrong cogwheel, you will notice it immediately, because they will not turn as they're supposed to. And then you just take out the faulty one and put in the right one, and you'll be gold. And something I want to talk about after this puzzle, or after these puzzles, because there is one more to complete. When we head back out, there is a big fight coming up. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I hate that fight. There are a lot of fights in this game that are really fun, really challenging, and great. And this fight, in my opinion, is just one big bukkake fuckfest, you know, back alley porn, dark side of the internet where consent is more a recommendation than a rule. And the reason I think that it's a terrible fight is due to one factor. And that is that there is a brute in that fight. And the brutes are really easy to take down most of the time. You just beat the shit out of them, you dodge their blows, you mash circle when they try to grab you. No problems at all. But in a fight like the one coming up, where everyone has firearms, that brute may cause you a lot of trouble, because it took me a few attempts to beat that fight, and it was... Let's say it took 10 attempts.
Okay.
And 9
I'll
times
report
out of
it.
those 10 failed attempts, I died because of that fucking brute. Because he has a tendency to pick you up. Also, this is the second puzzle. First time I played this game, I was stuck on this puzzle for so long. Because you're supposed to line up this lamp so you make a shadow image on that wall. And I was really pleased when I was recording this walkthrough because I got it first attempt. So you just stick it into the right hole in the ground. You will see a little animation of the shadow stabbing the guy, and it will open the door out. But anyway, the firefight coming up. As I said, the brute is such a fucking troll. And the reason he is a troll, because this is a firefight. I think it's the only part of the game, it's the only fight in the game where you have a brute that enters a firefight. And the problem with that is that when he runs up to you, he has a tendency to lift Nate off the ground. He grabs you and he lifts you up. And why that is such a problem is that no one else stops shooting at you during that animation, and you are by no means invincible during that animation. So almost all the times I died, it was because of that asshole picking me up and someone else put a bullet in my back and took me out. If that brute hadn't been there, it would have been a really fun fight. There are quite a few normal foot soldiers. There are, I think it's 3 heavies. And that trolley son of a bitch. But anyway, we have gotten into the innermost chamber and a lot of spiders have decided to join the party. And something we all know about the spiders is that they don't like light. So use this torch. By pressing square you will sweep it along the ground to force them back from you. And I recommend mash that square button. Mash it. Also you can take a few steps, sweep again, but this strategy works as well. I was just mashing it like I was playing. Remember that old NES game called Track and Field 2? We were at the Olympics and you were supposed to basically punch your A button to smithereens on your NES controller. Thank God those controllers were sturdy. But just mash it and keep walking and you should have no problems. And while Elena is trying to get up the big gate, we're gonna have to fend off these spiders with a shotgun. And they move towards you in kind of a wave pattern. I'm being quite aggressive here. This is not something I recommend too much, actually. Because you can run out of bullets, you get 1 refill, but when you're out of bullets, you're out and you will die. So what I recommend is be a bit less aggressive. As I said, you see they move to you in like a swarmy wave pattern. And shoot at them when they get really close. And try to manage your bullets as best you can. It's not a very long section, but it does feel very long when Elena is taking her sweet time. But we made it out from the spiders and now we're going into the big fight. So tuck your balls, brace yourself, say a prayer and smoke them if you got them. And I've seen a few different strategies that after I recorded this that can be quite good. I saw one guy who stayed down in that hole and spawn killed most of them. But what I do and what I have always done is try to camp out behind one of these fallen down pillars. You have a sawn-off shotgun and put it to good work. If you stay a bit more passive, Sully and Elena will probably take up most of their attention. And I recommend you don't get too greedy. The first guy I took out dropped an Uzi, which is a really big help in this fight. And I'm gonna use it when the brute shows up. I'm gonna start spraying him to try to soften him up a little bit. That is something I really recommend you do. Try to put as many bullets in him as possible, actually, to make him go down faster when you end up in a fist fight, which you will, and here he comes. So I just spraying him with my AK and almost get killed. He lifts me up. I get really lucky that no one decided to shoot at me at that very instant. And as you can see, I didn't have to punch him as much as you usually do. So you use the Uzi, use the shotgun, whatever. As soon as the brute goes down, the rest of this is really easy. 3 heavies come in, just spray them, go for the head. If they throw a grenade, pick it up, throw it back. If you can manage to hit them while they're doing their little grenade animation, hopefully they will drop it. They aren't as... they don't always get staggered when you shoot them in this game, and that is something I'm not very fond of. Because in the first and the second game, if you hit the guy when he's doing his little grenade animation, he will always get stunned. But for some reason, the heavies don't always do that. And now I know there is only one guy left. So I'm being quite aggressive because I can't see shit through this smoke. And I'm just waiting now for him to either for Sully or Elena to take him out, or just some sort of what's called barrel flare or something, just to show me where he is. And as soon as he's dead, the last guy, the smoke will end, will disappear, and you have beaten, in my opinion, one of the trolliest and hardest fights in this entire game, actually. And I'm running around now picking up ammunition, and that is completely useless to do, because the very second you get up out of this well, Nate will actually throw in all the weapons. Just to make us look less conspicuous when we get out of here. And also on the back side of this grating there is a collectible, if you're going for those. If I remember a collectible from time to time during these games, I will mention where it is. I have done so before, so... Just a little tip along the way. I am not picking any of them up because I already have them all. But
okay, I think we're clear.
As I said, when I remember where one is, I will tell you about it. And now we will very soon go into a little sequence where Nate has gotten drugged, where he is running through the streets, doped up to his eyeballs. And I have trimmed this out. So we go to a skip. Thank you. And we end up in this running sequence with Talbot instead. And I've talked from time to time about the fact that this game is a bit more Hollywood-esque than the previous installments in the series. And this is a typical movie chase. Remember all those action films you've seen through your life? Well, this is like that. And I really don't like this fight. I was actually thinking about skipping it completely in this walkthrough. I think this fight would be absolutely awesome, or this chase would be absolutely awesome, if there was a way to make it shorter. If you could get close to Talbot and take him out earlier than the game is scripted to do so, this could have been really awesome, but it doesn't work that way. Instead, we're gonna chase him through every street there is in this old town, and it's impossible to lose track of him because he is a very considerate runner. Whenever you lose track of him, he will stand and wait for you in certain points, so you can basically you cannot fail this chase, more or less. There is one point where you can get really unlucky and get shot down. It happened to me on one of my playthroughs actually of this game. Not during the recording of this walkthrough, but one time when I played this game, I actually managed to get killed. And it's one of those parts where, you know, a lot of games have like one sequence that makes you sometimes a bit reluctant to replay it. For example, in this game, it's this chase for me. I wish you could just skip it, or at least make it shorter. And that is a problem with the Uncharted games actually. If I'm going to be completely honest, all the games in this series has one of those points that makes you a little bit reluctant to replay the game, in my opinion. In the first game, it's absolutely, I think it's chapter 4, where it's called Plane Wrecked. When you're sitting where the plane has crashed and you have this big open area where everyone is shooting at you. There are like 1,000,000 enemies. And in the second game, it's definitely the tank fight, when you're being chased through Tenzin's village and the big tank is going up the street. In this game, it's this section. In the Lost Legacy, it's definitely the, what's it called, APC fight? No, not the boss fight against the APC. The fight where it's chasing you with the waterfalls and shit. I can't remember which chapter it is, but where it pops out like a wicked Jack-in-the-Box from different sections of walls. There are a few little waterfalls. I can't remember the chapter. Anyway, it's one of those bogus fights, I think. Also, the fight against it when you're going by those old temples. It's not a hard fight. It's just trolly, and it takes too long. Is what I would say. And also, this chase goes on for way too long. What I've been chasing him now for like 3 minutes. And all we do is climb around, and this is the part I was talking about. Here, if you're really unlucky and you're not fast enough, you may get shot down. And sometimes the platforming just isn't on your side, especially when you're trying to climb over those signs. Sometimes it can be, you get stuck, basically. But here we have the end of the chase, finally. He's run out of breath, so we go into a fist fight. And this fight is really easy, it's very short. I just go in, all guns blazing, really aggressive, start swinging immediately. You will go into an animation where he puts your head in fountain, so you just mash the circle button to get away. Whenever he grabs you, mash circle, any other time, press triangle. And then we bash his head against the fountain. He goes down, and we turn around, and we get hit in the face, right out to the title screen. So, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So, until next time, this is the Wolfman, signing off.